Hi everyone, welcome back to the WebDriver tutorial series, and this is day 30, sorry. So we will continue learning the frameworks, okay? In previous tutorial we learned theoretical parts about the framework. So we are learning automation frameworks. Now in previous session, like we already discussed, data driven framework. Okay, data driven framework is used when you have one test case. That one test case you want to execute for multiple set of data. Okay, example is registration, doing registration for 1000 users with a different data, right? So that is another example. Then we learn one more thing, that is keyword driven framework. So in keyword driven framework there are mostly three things in common. So keyword, then locator, sometimes locator or any mostly parameter, and the value. So these are the three things which is used in the keyword driven framework. We also talked about the high level keyword, low level keyword. For example, low level keywords are click, type, something like that. You can decide what name you want to give. This is not fixed. And high level keyword is like do login or something like that. Let's say add product to cart, something like that. This is like high level keyword. And then we learn about hybrid framework. So hybrid framework is about combining data driven framework plus keyword driven framework. So how the combination is done? We use the existing keyword driven test case and we parameterize that test case for multiple set of a data. So running one keyword driven test case for multiple set of a data is a hybrid framework. Okay, I hope it is clear. There are a few more things that we learn, like linear framework and modular framework. I won't be teaching you that because I don't consider that as a real framework, real automation framework. The other thing is BPT and BDD, behavioral driven development. So these are also frameworks. And there is one more framework which is again a popular in Selenium, but I won't be teaching you that. Robot. Okay, some people use this robot framework. That's also another framework, but I won't be teaching you robot framework. We will be learning BDD in the future topics. Might be like last topic of the session of this complete tutorial maybe. But BPT is specific to QTP, or you can call as a UFT. That is the new name. So for now, practical implementation wise, we will be learning data driven framework from scratch. All right. So when I say data driven framework, it means I will be using the data provider. Okay. I will be having some common reusable methods. So object modeling. Okay. So it will be like page object model. Okay, that is what we are going to combine. And there are a few more things like configuration part, some utility part. Okay, so what I will do is, before we start, let me show you a diagram from the framework. Excuse me. All right. So guys, this is a high level diagram, design diagram of data driven framework. So let me tell you the concept first, the framework that we are going to develop. So there could be any data source as an input to our framework. Okay, it could be database, it could be Excel file, it could be XML file, we will use the respective data loader libraries. For example, if I'm going with Apache POI, that means Excel, I will use Apache POI. If you want to load data from database, you can use JDBC, or for XML there are different parsers available. So this is one part, the input data. That data goes to the test classes, basically the test cases, and the test cases are stored into test classes. Okay. Now this is one example of a test class. There is another test class. You can have n number of test classes, but again there has to be some relation in between. So there is a parent class known as a base test. So base test is the parent class of all test classes. Okay. Test classes will contain the test method. We will learn in more details practically, but before that, I just wanted to give you a high level idea, and then we'll implement the same design, same framework into coding. So there will be a test cases into test class, test methods. Those test methods will be using login, like one I mentioned is login page. So this test case is going to use the page object model. Okay. So for page object model, the concept behind what is page object model, the concept is, for every physical web page, we will have a logical class. So now let's say these are my physical web pages. There is a login page, cart page, payment page. There are different web pages inside my browser. Into my application. So for every physical web page, I will create a class. That class is going to represent that physical web page. So this is like a logical object of a page. So this is a class. For example, I will say class login page, and it will contain some web element. It will contain some method which can be performed on the login page. Similarly, for a physical card page, I will have a card page as a class, and in that class there will be some element and the respective methods which are working on the card page. The same is the case with payment page. So every web page, every physical web page will have a logical class. So this mechanism is known as page object modeling. Okay, so page object model is very popular actually in automation framework. Alright, so framework, as you can see, one more thing, let's say these are all page classes. This is login page, this is a card page, this is payment page, and all these page classes having parent as class page. Okay, or you can say base page, or any name you can give. There is no restriction that you have to give the same name. You can give any name. So all the common reusable methods across all the pages. Now, for example, clicking on element, reading a text of the element, or header and footer of all the pages is going to be there in the base page. Okay, all the common elements, common methods that you do on a web page. For example, click, get text, header, footer, all these things will go into page. This base page, and this base page is extended into all the classes. Like similarly, we had a base test, and the base test is extended into different test classes. Similarly, we have page class, and that page class is extended into different page classes. Alright, so this framework will be using some utilities as well. For example, synchronization utility that will help you to how synchronize your application. So when I say synchronization, it means waiting for some time. It could be that wait could be on condition also. Wait until that element is visible or until it gets invisible, that way. So that's the one sync utility. Then driver factory utility helps us to create the object of a driver. Driver factory basically checks, is it a remote browser, is it a local browser, and what capability to pass, and what configuration we have to give, and all those things. So driver factory is basically responsible for creating object of your driver. So far, what we did is we said WebDriver equal to new Chrome driver, but from here onwards, the things are going to be, more modular. So we will create a separate class as a driver factory. Also, for reading the data, input data, I will require the Excel reader, DP reader, and CSV reader. If XML, you can add XML reader. Or if there is something else, if you want to read a JSON, you can use a JSON reader as well. So these are readers, the different readers that helps us to read the data from external source. Next is configuration property manager. So this is like, we configure our framework. Let's say I want to test on this website, not on this one. I want to test on, let's say, QA environment, not on the development environment, or let's say I want to change that environment to production, and I want to run all automated test cases on production. This is just one example. Another example is, let's say I want to run all test cases on a Firefox, not on Chrome. So you just go to the configuration manager, change the configuration, and that configuration will be picked up, by the framework. So it will trigger the next test cases with that same configuration which we are specifying in file. There are some listeners also, and some libraries as extent report, report ng. These are some reporting libraries that we will be using in our framework, and there are going to be some listeners. Those listeners basically help us to generate a report. So in case of a test ng, we are using the listeners for generating a report. All right, and that gives us a report. So this is the high level idea about what is the framework. So if somebody asks you that, can you please explain your framework, you can just draw everything and ask, explain in a proper way. So it will be very easy, and we are going to implement the same framework in our project. Okay, guys, framework development is not just a 1 day or 2 day task, but I will be keeping it very simple to understand. Very basic framework I will be creating, though it is going to be very powerful framework as well.